me, sir, Ashwajit Singh, founder and managing director of IPE Global, joining us on the broadcast as well. Ashwajit ji, your overall thoughts before I jump into these employment-linked incentives.
Yeah, overall, I think, Rishabh, I'm quite satisfied with the budget. In fact, it's not just a budget for the year. It really seems to be a statement of the intent of the government for the next 5 years, because in a number of cases, including employment and a lot of other things, whether it's the development funding from bilateral or multilateral or developing the MSME and the women empowerment, etc. I think most of those schemes are going to be running over not just 1 year, over a number of years. So I think it's a statement of intent. It is a positive statement of intent. They have definitely looked at focusing on an inclusive budget, which is important because they have kept their word around the Viksit Bharat, around the Gyan. So they have looked at Garib, they have looked at the youth. A lot of focus, you were speaking about employment, a lot of focus is around youth employment. The Nari is well covered, a lot of allocation for women empowerment, and of course they've looked at agriculture and rural. I would have perhaps wanted some more innovative financing to come in. I can talk about that later. Some more schemes around the rural part of India. The budget was silent about health and Narega, which were two mainstays of the budget in the past. But when I look at the fine print, I do realize that the interim budget has already spoken about Narega and health, because a lot of people have been asking why have they been silent about health, but they have actually enhanced the health budget by 12% in the interim budget itself, and Narega has also had a fair amount of allocation.
Okay,
I'm quite happy to see the focus on the manufacturing sector. Happy to see that they are looking at more labor-intense industries as well, because a lot of population is in the unorganized sector or really where they're not that skilled. So we can look at some of the lessons learned, say from even why go further, even neighbors like Bangladesh in this space. But I think I'm very pleased about jobs and skilling. That has been something that we've been aspiring for. I think this particular budget has really given a statement saying that it's time to move from aspiration to acceleration. So I'm very happy with what has been announced for jobs and skills. It's a matter of time to see the fine print and see how that's going to be rolled out.
Okay.
I did hear you talk to the other speakers about the incentives. I think one point that we need to also make is that besides the government giving funding for first-time employment as well as the interns, they've also allowed these 500 companies to use part of their CSR funding for this, which I think is very positive, because in my view, the CSR funding was not really being ideally used as it should have been used in the past. So this will actually, and most companies have not used CSR funding in the past because they wanted to do CSR directly or indirectly, which benefits their work. This would be an opportunity for them to meet their objectives of CSR and the government to meet their objectives of jobs and skilling people.
Okay, so just but we look at it, top 500 companies, potential to create 1 crore internships, which will mean thousands of internships per company. So when we are looking at skilling, what does an internship do, and why does it help, Ashwajit Singh, that the government is going to subsidize 90% of it?
Internships, to be frank, is going to be in rural parts of India. I do not see bulk of the internships being in their head offices or major plants, or for that matter, even very skilled sort of work. So you will have internships around distribution, internships about looking at the rural market, which in turn links to my rural consumption, which has been a constraint we've had in the past. So you will not be really looking at very skilled internships because people who are skilled or who are well educated or trained in any case would walk in with jobs on their own. Because our problem in the past has not been that we don't have enough graduates. Our problem has been employable graduates is what we've been missing. And I think this internship will do that. Yes, the figure that they have mentioned is huge for these 500 companies. But I do imagine that while it's been announced for 500 companies, over the next budget or maybe once the fine print comes out, it would probably be rolled to other companies as well.
Okay, we're looking at roughly, it's a significant amount of money, because if you're talking about 3,000 rupees per month towards EPFO contribution, you're talking about 36,000 per year into 2 years per employee, 72,000 rupees that the government says it will pay you, the employer. If you are an employer, indeed you are, Ashwajit Singh, to add additional workforce, to hire more employees. Does this then become a significant enough calculation for you and others to start considering, you know what, it's a good time to go out there and hire people?
See, nobody is going to be hiring people for the sake of that 3,000 rupees. But what people will really look at is that you will get people who would be part subsidized, part funded by CSR, but at the end of the day, who will add value to your business as well. So I think that is going to be the underlying issue as well. But from the government's perspective, I mean, the government is already doling out far more, whether it's on the, it's in the PM Kisan or it is, in even Narega. So this is really a good way of I would say, channelizing some of the funds which would have otherwise gone into Narega. But Narega is not that monitored. Let me tell you, a lot of assets created under Narega, a lot of work done under Narega has not been as productive for the economy as one would have wanted it to be. On the other hand, them being attached to 500 top corporates who would, of course, they are at the end of the day into business to besides social cause also make profit. So these corporates will make sure that those people are skilled, trained and used in the best interest of the corporate, which in turn will be in the best interest of the economy. So it's really more of providing them an incentive for jobs with supervision of the top corporates.
Okay, just stay with me. Professor Nalapal, let me get Ashwajit ji back into this conversation. Ashwajit ji, now what we were expecting, and I know there's some devil in the detail, but I want your perspective on this. There are several government schemes which were, as we sat last year, at the cusp of saturation in many states. Awas Yojana, Jal Yojana and many others. What is the overall status and what do we need to come out of the detailing of this budget in terms of allocation for those schemes to actually get completed?
I think, Rishabh, it's interesting that the finance minister has actually spoken about reviewing the overall income tax act. I would say I think there is a need to review all the centrally sponsored schemes. We have a number of these schemes. They're all cross-cutting, overlapping. At times there's a gap. At times they're overlapping. And fine. The schemes were very required for us to get over the COVID crisis, because at that stage we couldn't think about production or income generation, or even survival was important. And I think those schemes were important to get money to the hands of especially the people who were poor, who didn't have access to, even the farmers who didn't have much income at that stage. Now, I would strongly urge that at some stage these schemes need to be reviewed and consolidated. I'm not talking about taking away schemes, but I'm talking about consolidating schemes. The other point that needs to be looked at is looking at the impact of these schemes and the delivery on the ground, because many of these schemes do have their challenges when it comes to the actual impact and delivery. And the direct benefit transfer, the direct cash transfer still makes sure that the entire money does reach the beneficiary. But a lot of other schemes, don't really find their way in the form that they should in terms of getting impact. So I think that's very important. So that needs to be done. But yes, some of the schemes will need to be phased out while newer schemes are coming in. But it's more important to review and consolidate these schemes, because there's no point in announcing schemes if they're not having an impact. I mean, there's a mediocre policy, if it's well implemented, is far better than a great policy poorly implemented.